So I am Rae Ellen, and I guess a little bit of background on me. I came into the addiction and treatment world about, a little about 12 years ago or so. And prior to that, I have a background in sales, marketing, organizational development, company culture. And coming into this field, kind of the same. I started in marketing, business development, discharge planning, alumni relations, and then became VP for a couple of companies, and then started a consulting company about 3 years ago, where I help companies, basically, I would say front end to back end with customer experience. So what is the customer experience or client experience or family members experience from the very first interaction on the phone? So when we first pick up the phone, through the entire continuum of care, after discharge, through alumni, how do they see us? How do they feel about us? How's the hospitality? That's outward facing, and then inward facing. How's the company culture? How is everybody treated? How's the employee satisfaction? And that trickles right into client satisfaction. So it's really something that I'm blessed and love to do, because if we're all taken care of as employees, the clients are taken care of, and we see higher outcomes, and the employers are happy themselves as well. So I am really just happy, and grateful to be here today. I was at the collaborative last year. It was virtual. And I found this to be such a special place for connection and for learning. It was one of the only places that I have been, in the last over decade, where really the focus is collaboration versus competition, and everyone's here to help each other. And I just really love this. I feel like this is a very special, TPAS is a very special place. So we'll talk more about that at the very end here. But yesterday I was reminded of a few points that I wanted to dive into a bit today with y'all. And no one needs to, self-disclose on here, but I'm sure many of us on the call are in recovery, that work in the field of addiction, and specifically in the alumni role here. So, and in your role, like, my question that, I would start off with this morning is, we get so busy and bogged down with so many tasks and everything that we're doing on the day to day. Are you able to do your own work? Are you able to have the calls with your sponsor and go to your meetings and have your own therapist and spend time with your family, and your kids uninterrupted without your cell phone ringing? Are you able to set, boundaries for yourself and around the phone, and separate out what is yours and what is the client's and what they're going through? And why I was reminded of all this yesterday is through a conversation that I was having with a friend of mine. Um, he's a business owner here in the recovery field, and he unexpectedly lost his father last month. And he's very close to him, and it's taken a big emotional toll on him and, of course, his family, as well as financially. And so he was telling me yesterday that he had made the decision to close his company for a few months, or for the foreseeable future. And help out with the family business. And we got into quite a long discussion about this, because I had a similar experience a few years ago when I lost my father, and a lot of our experience paralleled. And I had to do the same. I had to leave the field for a few months. And he said something really powerful while we were talking. He said, I can't focus on a business that's focused on recovery, and I can't help people that are recovering when I'm struggling. I have to be good myself, and I have to be here for my family, and I have to be strong in my recovery in order to help people with theirs. And of course, like, still sponsoring people and stuff like that, and staying strong in his recovery. But as far as leading them in their own recovery through an organization and the company, and I thought that was really powerful because I had had similar experience several years ago. So we talked about that for quite a while, and I thought like this is one of the fundamental things that I work with employees and owners of companies on, is really strengthening that thread and making sure that the employees are able to be good to themselves and be able to be there for their family and be able to like focus on their emotional and mental like well-being and health, whether or not they're in recovery. So this work will take a toll on you either way. Um, and as far as the alumni goes, I personally feel being in so many different roles in the organization that they're really the heartbeat. You guys are the heartbeat of any and every program. The CEO depends on the alumni. The business development team depends on the alumni, the clinical team, the client's family. And just as I was thinking about that, like that feels really heavy some days, to all have those people depending on the alumni person or the alumni team or the alumni department, however big your company is. So um, and how much are you currently taking on in this position? How many hats are you wearing? How much is being asked of you? And again, I would ask you to like look at how much time are you spending on the phone? Are you answering calls after hours? How much time are you spending in front of the computer reporting? And then versus taking care of yourself, with your significant other, with your friends, doing the things that really bring you to life. So I was thinking how, we have a few minutes here. So how do we create separations for ourselves in our life? Like, how do we formulate or start formulating some of these boundaries? Because it's like, can be challenging when the owner asks you to do something and you're already doing 100 things to say, no, I don't have time for that. And for me, I had to learn how to advocate for myself and my needs in a way that worked for me. There's so much talk about creating boundaries online. If you go to Instagram or Facebook or you research it, there's all these words to use. Like just I was researching it yesterday and they're like, all you have to say is no, which, it doesn't really feel super professional or appropriate or that good. But for me, when I was learning in the workplace, it felt very harsh and I felt scared and I didn't want to lose my job. So I had to begin the process in a way I felt most comfortable. So otherwise, the idea um, that I held is it's okay for me to be miserable as long as it's for the greater good of the company, as long as it's for the greater good of the clients, as long as it's for the greater good of the alumni. Like I can be miserable, and I didn't really conceptualize it at the time that I was miserable, but being on the phone 24/7 and not being able to create space for my own life was kind of creating that. So the boundaries don't have to be rigid, but instead they look different for everybody. So for like a gentler approach, I started saying things like, thank you for asking me that right now. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I'm honored that you asked me. You don't need to say the words, I'm setting a boundary right now. Like I sometimes will walk through treatment centers and hear people that are like, can tell they're starting to um, try to set boundaries for themselves. So they say like, I need to set a boundary around this. You don't have to state that. You can just softly and gently say, thank you. I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. You can also frame it positively. When you're talking to the people that you report to, and I want to show up as my best self for the company and the clients. So these are the things that I need. And whatever those are for you, they look different for everybody. Um, just for some ideas of some, reasonable things and some things that I make sure the staff that I work with have breaks in their day. This sounds crazy, but working in this field for 12 years, I found that I have to like literally schedule breaks in the day for staff to go to the bathroom. Like put it in their calendar. You're going to go to the bathroom. You're going to eat lunch. You're going to start at, this time. You're going to end at this time. You're going to take 2 days off a week. Um, and I also like to highlight what's important to them. So I have some people that are family and kid oriented, and they will get off Friday afternoon and take the weekend off. And I have other people that are more gym oriented and need, 2-hour blocks 3 days a week to go to the gym. So we block that out of their schedule. And other people that, want to start their day with like yoga or dance, and we just block that out of their schedule so that they can show up being their best selves. So calendaring time for all of this is the best way to keep you motivated and keeping them in the calendar as work appointments. Your organization will support that, and see that it's helping you to show up and be the best that you can be for them and for the clients. It also allows you to meet them where they are. So there's a checklist that I would assume that most of you have to complete for each alumni call. And I remember being at the collaborative, and I remember people saying, like, I have so many calls to do. I have to complete this checklist. And I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the client because I can't even check in to actually see how they are. So another question that I have come up when I was thinking about this is, how do we meet the clients where they're at? Are we too busy and too fatigued to actually get through our checklist and then take a minute and say, how can I help you? How can you like best serve them? Your voice sounds different today. Are you doing okay? That's literally my favorite thing, to like literally from admissions to marketing to alumni to working with clinical teams to working with CEOs is to every like new client call that I take is I always say, like, how can I help you? And it opens a dialogue, which I think is really important. If they've called you and they've relapsed, how can I help you? Do you need to come back to treatment? And a lot of alumni that I work with at that point have a really hard time of moving on with their day. And so, because the relapse, hits us all hard in different ways. And what do I do from here? And I think it's important to offer them help and see if they seem receptive, and share that with whoever in your org chart is important to share that information with. We have to note it in our system and know in our org chart who we need to share that with. And then we need to move on to our next call and take the time and space in the time that we've allocated in our calendar to download with the appropriate person later. Again, do you have a therapist? Do you have a sponsor? Again, within ethical boundaries. HIPAA, never use a client name or identifying info. I know everybody knows that, but I just wanted to say that. And we're taking on all this every day: the relapses, the clients, the suffering, the grief, the loss, the husband's leaving, the wife's leaving, clients not taking medications, relapses. So if I said just now, like, who do you put it in the chart, and then you go on your org chart and you report this to somebody and you said, I don't know who that is, that's a problem. Who do you report to when you need help? Does your company culture support you in the work that you do? And how often do you guys talk about that within your company? Is this your executive director? Is this your clinical director? Is this your CEO? Do you know what your company culture is, what the ethics and mission and values is for your company? This is important for you guys to know all of this. Recently, one of the companies that I work with received an email stating that one of their former clients had overdosed and had passed away. And I knew the way the company was set up. We were in process of setting up new systems. The clinical director was great. They were on it. They were supporting the clinicians and everybody like that. But nobody was there. I knew that I needed to call that person because nobody was there to hold space for her. And the other person that I knew that I needed to call immediately was the alumni coordinator. Nobody had reached out to her. And she was the last person to talk to that client. And so she was not okay. That was her first loss. And we need to make sure that we're holding like everybody in this field when they're walking through something like that. Because that's a big deal. And this is a lot that we're holding on to. And we all need somebody to go to talk through stuff like this. So it's imperative that you're familiar with all these things. You know the culture you're working in. It'll help you know the expectations of you and others in the company, set some of the boundaries that we talked about, and know where and who to go to when you need support. Without this, the burnout rate in this job is super high, can be super high. Persons providing direct care are found to have more symptoms of burnout and to be dissatisfied with their work-life balance when compared with other working adults. So, do you know like what your tell is when you're starting to burn out? For me, I was just texting with a friend this morning. I start dreaming about the company that I'm working for, like scenarios that are happening and like how to work through them. Not like, oh, I woke up with such a good idea, but all night I'm like dreaming about the company. And it's at that point where I know I need to get out. Like I need to make a change. I need to take a vacation. I need to lay more boundaries. Or, on the very, very tail end of that, if none of that works, I need to look at another job. Something's not working for me there. A good friend of mine, her tell is that she normally talks normal speed. If I get on the phone with her and she's like a recording speed up 10 times fast, she's spinning, like she's there. She needs to step back, take some space, breathe. A gentleman that I work with, he'll call me and he'll just start saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And so he does a lot of jujitsu. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking the phones from you for 2 hours and you're going to go, work out and we're going to talk about this tomorrow. So make sure you have people that support you and know that. And if they don't know what your tell is, like, what is your tell and can you share that with them? So a little bit of some of the things that I was been thinking about and things that I think is important for everybody to think about. It's one of the many reasons I was so thrilled to come across TPAS. Like I mentioned when I start, is the organization is based on everybody here helps each other. Like I've never reached out to anybody here and not gotten a response. Like I said, it's all about collaboration and competition. You guys know that, your members here. It's such a great place to find education and support on their portal. And the mentorship that I have had throughout my career, like before I was in the addiction field and now, has been such a staple in my life. So I just wanted to touch on that really quickly, the importance of mentorship. Every step of the way, I've had people in my life to learn and grow from in every area of my life, personally and professionally. And I think it's super imperative to find someone that resonates with you and ask them to spend an hour a week or an hour a month just talking. And it'll be the best thing that you do for yourself, for your self-care, for your growth. And one of the ways that you can find a mentor is through TPAS. And I saw a lot of people find mentors at the collaborative last year. So I know that they have one in May. I think it's the beginning of May, the 4th and the 5th. I'm sure Emily will drop a link. And if you guys aren't signed up, I highly recommend that you sign up for the collaborative. Get yourself a mentor, get someone to reach out to when you need help and support, and just someone to walk along the path with you.
Thank you so much, Rae Ellen. I'm going to put in the questions that we have for the breakout room. And I'm also, Rae Ellen's going to be in a breakout room. If you want to join and ask questions and talk directly with her, she'll be in the breakout room 5. And I know that so many of you have either been doing this work a long time or you're just getting started in this. And you might be in this place where you're like, I have so many things to do. I don't even have time to talk about how I take care of myself. Like sitting on this call, I already have a task list that seems like it never ends. And I just hope that you know a big piece of what we advocate for and why we've had Rae Ellen here this morning and why we're talking about this. And I can't wait for you guys to get in your small breakout room with one another, is that unless you take care of yourself, you cannot do this kind of work. And if you don't take care of yourself and you try to do this kind of work, like Rae Ellen touched on, there's going to be burnout, there's going to be resentment, and there's going to be a point where you're going to break down. And I know it because I've been there with personal experience. And I know a lot of people who have been in this field a long time can attest to that. So whether or not you're in recovery, the most beautiful part about this space is that we understand how important it is to have a very balanced mental and emotional healthy system. So we want you guys, we encourage you guys to talk about that today with one another, you know, share ideas. I'm going to put the questions in here and you guys can go in your breakout rooms. Before we go into the breakout rooms, are there any questions that you have for Rae Ellen in this bigger space? Again, she'll be in a smaller breakout room if you want to talk to her kind of one-on-one or depending on how many people are in the room. Any big questions? I'm going to put this in here. Okay, well with that then, I'm gonna have everyone go in. Here are the questions. And I'm excited for you guys to all talk with one another. It's a big, you know, piece of what we do here at TPAS. So creating these, and I'm gonna open the rooms. Let me move. Okay.
Funny because I was in the fitness industry for a long time, and one of the things that I would do with my clients, especially people that were like brand new, is, you know, people have these grandiose goals and these things that they want to do, and they all want to get to the gym 7 days a week, and I want to work out 5 hours a day, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but why don't we get you to the gym twice a day for an hour? Or twice a week, twice a day, twice a week for an hour. Let's hold on to that for a month. And if you can reach that goal, then the following month, let's do 3 days a week. Maybe you can do it for an hour and 15 a day or whatever, and then progress from there. And then eventually, you know, you can get there. But if you shoot for 7 days a week and you don't reach that, you're going to get discouraged. And then pretty soon you're not going to set foot back in a gym until, you know, maybe next New Year's. And so that was kind of a common theme in setting these goals, setting them realistically, and, you know, to do the SMART goal thing. But that was really cool because I think each one of us, we had that in kind of like our discussion, and that was just cool to see.
Till Thursday. Are you?
I'm gonna get there a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that, you know, it sounds so simple, and I know it's something we've heard time and time again, and we hear it both professionally and personally, like setting goals, but breaking them down and making them simple even for ourselves, and being able to model that for the people that we're working with is so crucial, and not overwhelming ourselves and not setting ourselves up to, essentially, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily fail, because I always see it as just like making mistakes, which I'm going to continue to do, and I learn from them. And so that's big when it comes to goal setting. So yeah, thank you, Tucker. Anybody else? Something new that they learned, maybe about themselves, something that maybe they want to commit to everybody on this call about, something they want to change about their work-life balance? I love calling on people if nobody volunteers, by the way.
I'll volunteer.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Kim.
go ahead.
Okay. I'm Tabitha. I work at Harmony Foundation as an alumni coordinator, and I love being on TPAS calls. I feel like just good stuff. Great way to spend my time. I feel like what came out for me in that breakout session is just the importance of having mentorship and having good role models and people to go to. Like, I work with Michael Mazel, and a bunch of you guys know her. I feel like I shared in the room that ever since I stepped into this position, I've been hearing this stuff from the beginning, and how much that has helped me be successful in this role. and I feel supported. And I also believe that being part of TPAS has been a great help in boundary setting and making sure I'm doing self-care. And it wouldn't have been this way if I didn't have the collaboration or a great mentor and a role model. So I feel like that's what came out for me.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you, Tabitha. Yeah, mentorship is really key. And whether you want to officially call it mentor, or you just want to have, people that you look up to and you want to share with, and you want to maybe even be accountable to, and learn from. I mean, all those things are really amazing. And I think, again, with TPAS, this community has always been open to wanting to help one another. And it's essentially why every single year I've always come back to TPAS. Not only do I learn, but I also get the opportunity to contribute to the community. And I know for a lot of us who are in recovery or in some type of recovery or just looking to be all around better human beings, giving back and being of service is huge for us. So, of course, with boundaries, as we're learning today. Anybody else?
Yeah, I love that, sort of tapping the community around you. And so I'm thinking about, some of the things that Rae Ellen mentioned, where, do you know where to go if this happens or that happens? And I think we have to kind of look at that. And if something's not there, create it, a little bit. And so for me, that's the thing that's kind of keeping me going. I was mentioning that, I started walking during the day and getting out of the house. And one of the things is like, okay, I get to, so, I mentioned there's this Harmony event where it's a virtual challenge to see how many miles you're logging and stuff like that. But it's fun, and I get to interact with some of these people in a different way than I normally would. But bring people in on your journey, and when you think about that mentorship, I think it's harder. The older you are, the harder it is to get your head around that, because you're like, well, I'm of course the mentor here in the relationship. But I think if you look around you, there's a lot of different aspects. And I think when you have to go and you have to, say, I'm going to learn from somebody else, you sort of have to say to yourself, okay, I'm imperfect. And there are some things that I could develop. And then you do it, and you might have this like really awesome, meaningful relationship with someone that you didn't before, and you get to grow a little at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. And I think, one of the takeaways that I want to encourage everyone to do here, I'm sure, well, I hope that everyone had, a really meaningful experience in their breakout rooms. And so I encourage within this week, as long as the person, is open to it, which I'm sure we all are, I encourage you to reach out to another person that you met in your small group today. At some point this week, whether it's an email or a text or a phone call. Phone calls are always the best, and just checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, maybe following up with something that they shared in the small group, saying like, hey, how's that going with that new boundary? Or, how are you feeling today? Because again, it may not seem like it would be something on a task list that your boss might give you to check in with somebody, check in with a colleague, and ask for support. But as we know, doing this work, it is so crucial to continue to ask for support and then utilizing that support. So we are always here for that. Is there anybody else that they want to share anything or any questions maybe? Yes, Duke.
Hi, everyone. I love this topic because I fail in it more than anything else. So kind of a nonprofit leader, army of two, we're happy to say, but unfortunately, I am either all this and so long story short, I just kind of love this topic. We had a great breakout session. I mean, it's been brought to my attention by my kids that, my favorite topic is me and the nonprofit, and I don't, I've struggled letting it go. And like, we discussed kind of like the Fitbit, like I can tell how many steps I take, right? It's either, a total of 700 a day or 17,000 a day, right? So I'm trying to find more of kind of this middle space and kind of creating ways to live in the middle instead of, one extreme to the other extreme. And I really have struggled stepping away from work and kind of forcing myself, like if I go play golf, then I've got a blocked out, 4 hours that I'm not doing work. And anyways, this topic is not something that I have anywhere else. And being a single dad, I don't have adult supervision. So, I run my timeline through myself, and there's also like, there's a fear behind this that if I don't do it, who will do it? And there's another component of, my leadership style of being, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And people tend to get out of the way, and trying to invite other people in, and, kind of stepping away and saying no to some events, and hoping these other people will step away. And one of our other participants just kind of really circled it back to, like, make sure they're going to their core meeting and make sure they're talking with the sponsor. And I was like, that is really basic and just what I needed to hear, and got my attention. So thanks.
Thank you, Duke. Yeah, it's an important reminder for us all. And I know for me, I can relate to everything that you said, in the sense of feeling that, sense of over responsibility, and, wanting to take care of it, and, feeling sometimes like, we have to do it all ourselves. And while some of that might be true, it's definitely not sustainable. And we also know that we aren't alone, and that we can ask for a lot of help. And taking care of ourselves is extremely important. I always say, like, if I'm encouraging somebody else to do it, including if I'm talking with an alumni or a sponsee or somebody I mentor, I should be practicing it myself. So I'm, again, so glad that all of us joined this morning. I know a couple of people had to drop off early, or even on time, because I know we're a couple minutes over. I am going to drop into here the Eventbrite link. If you haven't signed up for our virtual collaborative in May, members, the tickets are only $175 for our members. If you have any questions or need any further information, you can always reach out to me. I'm so glad everyone came this morning. I want to say thank you again to Rae Ellen Ellis for being on our call this morning and presenting and sharing all of this with us. I know, again, how valuable this work is that we do, and you are all valuable and definitely worth all the self-care in the world. So we are here if you need anything. And with that, I'll just kind of end the call. And if you want to unmute yourself and say goodbye or say hi or whatever else, thank you all so much.
Cool.
Thanks, Emily.
Adios.
Running it. Thank you, Rae Ellen.
Thank you, Rae Ellen.
Nailed it. That was a nice job.
Thanks for having me.